one of the things I want to mention while I'm remembering is some of the new research that's come out that's really pretty intriguing, because Alzheimer's, as you mentioned, is an increasing epidemic, and to the point where more than 1 in 3 people are projected to eventually have this, and it's not pretty to lose your mind. But we're finding that one of the best things to do is follow a healthy lifestyle, exercise, get your vitamin D levels up, avoid the sugar. But also, even if you have Alzheimer's, what's been found recently to be highly effective is coconut oil. And about a tablespoon a day has been shown to produce massive improvement in a number of people and really get their sanity back and their brain functioning, which is really quite extraordinary to consider how simple food like this can have such a powerful benefit.
Well, I mean, isn't food really the original medicine? I mean, it's what we're designed to eat.
Well, but there seems to be some specific benefit to coconut with respect to how it biochemically interacts in the brain and providing sort of bypasses to some of the dysfunction that occurs in advanced degenerative brain disease. So it's particularly intriguing. I couldn't agree more. And one of the good strategies you can also use, and I highly recommend people consider, would be organic vegetable juicing. Good 8 to 16 ounces a day of fresh organic vegetables. Not so much the fruits, but the vegetables, the green ones, with a base of celery, cucumbers, and adding some lime to decrease the bitterness of some of the dark greens like kale and collards, and really provide a whole bath of beneficial phytochemicals that will really push your body towards health.
We've all got to make the commitment. Back over 10 years ago, I was in really good shape, and then I just got out of shape, and it's very hard to get back into shape and start eating properly again, but I'm slowly moving there. But it's something that freedom lovers all have to do. I mean, this revolution against tyranny starts with our bodies. Let's take another call from Donna in California. We got to move quick now. Donna, you're on the air with Dr. Joseph Mercola. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
I'm a first-time caller. Hi, Dr. Mercola.
Hi.
I'm here in Palm Springs, California, as you said. I'm just very excited to be on air, and I appreciate you taking my call. And I'm a first-time subscriber. Just started listening to you, and I'm spreading the word. Just wanted to let you know that I'm out calling these companies about the bisphenol A and all this other stuff. So I try to do it one or two a day before I go to work.
Awesome.
But anyway, I just want to thank you. I appreciate you guys, and keep up the good work. And if there's anything I can do, give me a call.
All right. Well, you're a sweetheart. Do you have any questions for our...
Actually I do, Alex. Thanks. I was curious about, because you've talked about the bisphenol A and the plastics, and I'm looking at my cupboards and my storage, and I've got all these canned goods and things that are in plastic. Is there a way to know exactly which ones to get rid of? And, is there a list of plastic companies or whatever we shouldn't be using?
Well, that's another great point. The little juice boxes... most of the things like Capri Sun, you name it, they have plastic lining in them, and a lot of them, it's made of bisphenol A. Correct, Dr. Mercola?
Yeah, it's the general principle is, and it's important to understand that 90% of the money that Americans spend on foods is for processed foods. And when you process the foods, there's a risk because you have to package it in a way that's going to store it. And most of these packaging materials are fraught with danger. So, occasionally exposure is not going to be a big issue, but on a regular basis, you really want to move away from that and find foods that are packaged in glass. That's a key thing. And another element that is commonly overlooked is that these vegetables and fruits, once you package them and process them, normally they have methanol, but it's combined with pectin in the fruit or vegetable. And if you eat it raw or fresh, it's not a problem. But once you package it, this methanol gradually associates. And methanol is another term for wood alcohol, and it can cause significant neurological complications. So really the general take-home message is stay away from processed foods as much as possible and make your foods fresh.
I didn't know that till a few months ago, but correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is that when you take canned peaches or whatever the case may be, the natural things in it starts breaking down into something toxic.
Well, it's liberated. Normally it's connected in a way that doesn't cause a problem in your body because it doesn't have an enzyme to dissociate it, but it breaks down spontaneously once it's processed over time. So the longer it is, the worse the problem, and you can have significant complications. In fact, many researchers believe it's a primary factor for the cause of multiple sclerosis and other autoimmune diseases.
Amazing. Donna, God bless. Let's talk to Larry in California. Larry, you're on the air. Go ahead, Larry.
Hello, Alex.
Hey.
Hey, Alex. I'm an ex-convict there, And I'm telling you, man, quit bad-mouthing us ex-convicts here in California.
All right, Larry, I appreciate your call. I know that's a prank call. I don't really talk too much about ex-convicts, but good to hear from you, Larry. Let's talk to Chris in Maryland. We don't screen our calls, folks. Chris in Maryland, you're on the air with Dr. Mercola.
Hey, guys. I'm finally glad to finally get on. It's hard to get on here, but my question for your guest is that I was seriously operated on by the military, and I have a feeling that I might be a goner. But if martial law is called, I told my wife and kids that we will bug out of here to get away from the populated areas. And since they took out my terminal ileum and I have B12 deficiency, is there some way that I can bypass that to get the B12? Because I have a feeling if I don't get it, I'll be a dead man.
Well, eventually you'll die, but before that you'll become blind and develop other neurological complications. But you're right, the B12 is a very large vitamin, it's the largest ones we know of, and it's required to combine with intrinsic factor and be absorbed in the terminal ileum, which has been surgically resected in your case. So the bypass of that is to take an injectable form of vitamin B12 once a week or so, or on our site we actually have a spray, which you just spray under your tongue that's absorbed sublingually, and it bypasses the expense and inconvenience of having to do a shot every week. So, but you can't swallow it. It won't be absorbed. So that's the key.
Okay, so, but will it still get into my body without an injection? I mean, can I use that
if you spray it sublingually, it will. Because underneath your tongue.
Alex?
But
if it goes into your saliva glands, correct?
Yeah, well, there's capillaries underneath your tongue that it just is a direct absorption into the bloodstream. So you don't have to absorb it through your...
Yeah, that's why folks chew tobacco. It's a great way to get the drug in.
Yeah.
Way that you can put out the information, Alex, where I can get some of this, or some of us who have this problem?
Absolutely. I just said Mercola website.com has it, and there's a lot of other products out there, so I appreciate your call. Let's go ahead now and talk to Gabriel in Mass. Gabriel, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Alex. I want to talk about GMO. Soy and corn. About 90% of everything we buy in the stores is got... You have to forgive me. I'm really nervous, okay?
We're almost out of time, though. Go ahead.
About everything in the stores you buy has got genetically modified soy or corn derivative or resistant. It's got pesticide-resistant bacteria in it, and it stays in our gut.
Yes.
And the animals that eat it, we eat these animals, and yeah.
Yeah, we're in deep trouble. I appreciate your call. It is incredible. In closing, Dr. Mercola, comment on what he was saying, and then talk more about that life extension dealing with the DNA strands.
Well, GMO is an issue. It's in over 90% of the corn and soy, so you really want to avoid those foods. And really, you can go to our site. We've got just type that in, and Jeffrey Smith has put together a GMO-free shopping guide, so that you can vote with your pocketbook and not purchase these products. And that's going to be the most powerful action you can take as a consumer to get this stuff off the market. Just don't buy it, period. It's easy to avoid. With respect to the telomere lengthening, there's life tends to end around 120. It's very, very rare to find anyone older than that. And that's because there's a basal degradation of these telomeres, these end caps on the DNA, on the chromosomes. And once you get down to about 5,000 or so, you die. It's probably the most accurate biological clock that we have. So there are things that can accelerate it, which is unhealthy lifestyles, just smoking and sugar and lack of exercise and trans fat and free radical exposures. So that will cause you to die much earlier than 120. So you want to be as healthy as you can. But even if you were the healthiest, perfectly possible lifestyle, you're still going to die at 120. So the exciting research is that they've identified this enzyme that actually can be turned on, because it's on in your reproductive cells, but it's not in all our body or somatic cells. So there's going to be these enzyme inhibitors that you'll be able to take. It will turn on this telomerase gene, and you'll actually be able to add telomeres. And in research in the animals and test tubes, it actually reverses aging. So it's very exciting, and the take-home message is to stay as healthy as you can, because if you can do that and you're around in 20 or 30 years and you're still pretty healthy, you can probably add another 50 years without even blinking.
Unbelievable. You know what? I don't want to twist your arm, but do 5 more minutes with us on other life extension developments. And they also have the diets they put rats on, as you know, that double their life expectancy. Let's talk about those diets when we come back. film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, I show you world leaders, top scientists, futurists, Ray Kurzweil, Bill Joy, all talking about how there's 6.5 billion people, how they cannot give us the life extension, and that's why a world government has to be formed to basically reduce our population so the elite can inherit the earth and get the life extension. And again, I just read the mainstream medical literature where they're increasing the life of certain types of insects 3-4 times, where they're doubling the life expectancy of rodents just with diet. And this literature has been out for a long time. A lot of the diets are basically high nutrient but near starvation. Dr. Mercola, can you comment on not just the lengthening of the DNA strands, but some of the other studies that are out there?
Well, the most common approach is calorie restriction. I'm not a big fan of that because it's really very difficult to do, and it's logistically impractical. So, but the studies, most of the studies use that as an approach, and my approach is really to optimize insulin. So there's very clear from my review of the literature that that's probably the single most important way to optimize aging is to lower your insulin levels as low as possible. And there's two primary ways to do that. One is through eliminating your sugars. Avoid sugar like the plague. It's really not good for you in any way, shape, or form. So you really want to limit that. And if you and you want to get to your ideal body weight or body fat percentage. And the other important element is to exercise, and there's a lot of confusion about exercise. I started exercise in 1968 and was a long-distance runner for over 40 years, and unfortunately that is not the best type. So your typical cardio, which you see 90% of people doing when you go to a fitness club, is on a treadmill or the elliptical or the bike is not the way to do it. What we need is really these, actually it's much easier and much more time efficient, is these high-intensity exercises where you're really getting your heart rate up to maximum over a 30-second period, then going into a recovery period and doing that in a multiple times.
So it's almost like a powerlifting explosive?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a term for it. It's called Peak 8, just P-E-A-K-8. If you go on my website, type it in. I've got videos and really, there's no cost to it. For the information, and it just tells you how to do it really specifically and measure your heart rate. And literally in 20 minutes, you get the benefit of working out for 2 or 3 hours that you would in typical cardio. And that's going to increase your growth hormone, which tends to go down pretty dramatically after the age of 40.
Well, I kind of got into weightlifting from about 17 to 22, multi-hours a day. And then I was talking to some guys that were in really great shape that were UT football players, and they said, look, you need to do some cardio and stuff, but they said power lift, and I never got super strong. I could, squat 600 and bench press 330, but I weighed 180 pounds. But I started doing power clings and things, and I'd go home to see my parents from college, and they'd say, are you on steroids? And I was naturally, literally just ripped and bulging with muscles, and it was the powerlifting.
Yeah, that's more of a high-intensity thing. That's actually more of an ideal type of exercise. And strength training is absolutely an essential component of a good exercise program. It should be 50% strength training, 50% of this high intensity, and some good stretching in there. But, you do that, and not only will you help optimize your ability to live a long and healthy life, but the quality of life will be good. You won't be crippled and debilitated, because 80% of Americans have problems with their joints